Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Women in Tech Landing the Job session. We are going to have two fabulous speakers tonight, Jacqueline de Werker and Aurélie Krau, two women that are very close to my heart because I really admire the work that they do and the talents that they have, and I am sure that they can bring the same to you. But before we start, I'm going to give you a little introduction on Women in Tech and what we do. So we are the Dutch chapter. I represent the Dutch chapter together with Kara, who's in the background doing all of the tech and making sure you see everything. We are an international organization and we have a double mission. We want to close the gender gap and we want to help women and girls embrace a career or a course of study in the field of technology, because we still need a lot of women in technology. We focus on 5 primary areas: gender equality, education, entrepreneurialism, social inclusion, and science and innovation. We want to educate, and most important thing is that we bring together a community. And this community consists of all kinds of persons of all abilities. So we also welcome men. I hope there are some men tonight as well. And we have over 60 chapters at the moment, so that's something to be really proud of. And what we do is we actually also take some of the sustainable development goals. You see them here: education, entrepreneurialism, science and innovation, and social inclusion that I just mentioned, because we really want to make sure that we cover those things that are something that matter in the world. We also focus on gender equality and the empowerment of women and girls. And I really like that the session tonight is about landing a job in tech, especially focused a bit on women and girls, of course, because we are bringing you 2 very great female role models to help you walk away in this session with a lot of information. Introducing our Women in Tech tribe to you. At the top, you see Kara, Karine, and Lieke. They are in our advisory board. We have 2 great program managers, Hajar and Emeline. Underneath them, you see our media and communications team. They are great as well. Then the community leaders, and we have our partners and sponsorships. And all of these ladies do volunteer work to make sure that we can bring these sessions to you. Also, we have a lot of places where you can find us, so please find us on the web, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, or Slack. We really do welcome you to join us. And now I'll be introducing Jacqueline to you.
Hi there.
Hi, Jacqueline. Thanks for joining.
Thank you for inviting me.
I'm super happy that you're here. So I'll just give a little introduction to everybody about who you are and how I look at you, of course. Because I asked you to join the session as I really admire the work that you do. I know you've worked at IT and startups, scale-ups and large organizations as an employee, freelancer, or even running your own company, and you've been in IT recruitment for over 14 years. You know a lot, and I know that everybody really, really loves working with you.
That's such a sweet comment.
So welcome.
Thank you. I'll take it from here. So I have prepared some slides with information that I think is good for you to know. And then that's not a very interactive part. And then after some slides, I will get to the interactive part with you. So bear with me. I'll just open my presentation. So when Gabi invited me for presenting on this seminar, I was thinking back of the time that I entered into IT, which is a very long time ago. And I realized that I did not enter IT in a conscious way. I just sort of roll into it, and then later on made a very conscious choice to stay in IT, because this sector is having a fast pace. There's a lot of things going on, and it's never a dull moment. So, for example, the new technologies keep racing up. 5 years ago, we would not think it was very normal to check in on our professional mail, on our private phone and do work from our mobile phones. That's how quick the sector is progressing, and it's an ever faster pace that we're getting into. And whereas if you would choose an IT career in the past, you would have to choose for an isolated IT department in a large company or an IT company as such. Nowadays, IT is present in any type of company. So whether or not it's fashion or government or working for a good cause, IT is present in anything. So your career options are nearly unlimited. Like myself, right now, I'm working at a company that is providing e-health, mental e-health solutions to people, and still I'm active in IT. So right now I can contribute to both of my strongest motivators, which are helping people and being active in IT. So I would actually so much like to help you land that type of role as well that fits your needs and personal drivers. And I think that's one of the things that I can share best with you if you want to land a job in IT, because the world is open for any woman that is aspiring a career in IT. So it's up to you actually to see where you can find the match. So you should know your strengths, your weaknesses, your key motivations, and your drivers to know where you want to direct your time and effort to land a job. So make sure that you are aware of the cultural fit that fits the culture that fits you best. So are you a person that needs a lot of instructions? Do you need a set career path, a set educational path, or are you the type of person that is more flowering when you are in a free type of company where you have self-supporting, self-steering teams, where you master your own destiny and build your own career? So think of that and then start talking to your network and do the professional identity check. So do they agree with what you have analyzed from yourself, and can they help you with landing the job and getting information from all sorts of companies? So if you don't have a network in IT yet, then grow on. Go to meetups. Go and learn from people that are sharing their knowledge on the internet, for example, through Tech Talk or through TED Talk, which you can find both on YouTube. And you can find a lot of information there as well to just start understanding what the terminologies are that people in IT are using. So you will see a lot of job advertisements that come with technological words that you might not be able to understand. Well, at least I didn't in the beginning. But then I found out whatis.com. So every time I heard a new terminology, I was like, okay, what's this? Let's go to whatis.com and find out what it is. And you will grow your knowledge of the IT sector, but also start to be more engaged into these types of companies. Now, apply to roles for which you meet the requirements. I mean, it's an open door, but there's many people that don't apply to jobs that they meet the requirements for. So there's actually some unwritten rules with regards to requirements that are included in job advertisements. And one of those unwritten rules is that the most important requirements are on top of the list. So, for example, in this case, it's having a bachelor in computer sciences or equivalent. Well, if you don't have that, then you need to become either very creative or look for another type of role, because your success is going to be limited unless you're very creative or do some stuff that I'm going to explain to you later. And there's one exception to the priorities in this, and that's the relocation option. Typically, it's on the bottom of the requirements list, but if you don't meet the relocation requirements, so either you don't have the visa or you're not living in the area where the company is looking for, then it's going to be a no-show probably so it doesn't make any sense to apply. So make sure you pay attention to that, because the more times you receive a no to an application, the more times it takes an effort to pump yourself up and to make an effort again. So it's bad for your motivation, I suppose. So to land a job, you need to put in time and effort. So I thought I'd just include 2 inspirational examples for you that I've seen recently that show that people make an effort. So first you need to do is to prepare reading the website, checking all the LinkedIn profiles of the employees you can find, check Glassdoor references, do anything you can to get as much information on the company where the job is posted that you want to land. And then you need to find out a way to show that you have done all the work, that you understand it, and that you do match all the requirements and the company culture and everything. So these 2 people had a very creative way of showing that. One of them is a UX designer, which is on the top example. And he scraped the website of the company Therapieland, where I'm working right now, and made an avatar of himself, which is in sync with the icons and avatars that we are using on our website. And he's stuck it on a very inspiring motivational letter that explained why he should get the job, even though he did not meet all the requirements. And I invited him for an interview and we hired him. And the other one is an example of a person that applied at Coolblue, which is an e-commerce solution. And he wrapped himself in a product type of frame where he included his work experience and his strong points. And he actually went viral with his application and even hit the Dutch newspapers. So I'm not sure if he landed the role at Coolblue, but I'm sure that he was invited to very many interviews. So those are just 2 inspirational things to stand out of the crowd. And of course, if you meet all the requirements and the nice to haves on a job advertisement, then you don't need to go through all the hassle, then just apply now in a LinkedIn, for example. And the recruiter will do the math themselves and understand why you would be a good fit for the role. However, it's never a bad idea to do something like this. Make sure your CV is complete and without punctuation, spelling mistakes. That goes for basically everything and everybody. You can find many different templates on the internet, and one important thing there is as well that you have a LinkedIn profile matching your CV. So make sure that you use the same types of job titles, that the years that of your tenure there are in sync, and that you include a number of things that recruiters are searching on. In particular, recruiters in IT are active in reaching out to people. They are making an effort to find you. So they will use search words like, for example, database, or C# as a development language, or anything that fits the type of roles they're trying to fill. So make sure that you include appropriate names, skills, tags, and whatever in your experience fields. So I was looking at my colleagues here at Therapieland, and one of them said, I really don't want to be found. You can use my profile as an example. And she said, I'm just only listing the job titles and the companies that I work for, and don't elaborate on anything because I'm afraid that recruiters are going to approach me. So that's a good indication that that actually works. And recruiters are no detectives, so you should help them find you and also help them interpret your LinkedIn profile. And also on LinkedIn, there's this option saying I'm open for opportunities. So definitely don't forget to open that one so they will know that you are open for discussions about potential roles in the future. So that having said, are quite standard things that may help you. You can find roles on LinkedIn, on the company's websites, of course, where you want to work for, on GitHub, on Stack Overflow, and the like. And if you are on LinkedIn, try to connect to as many people as you can, also to recruiters. They have networks with hiring managers, with lots of companies, and the reason for doing for connecting with as many people as you can, is that they will open up doors for you. And suppose you're having this this background that is not an exact fit with the requirements of the role, you might actually reach out to your network and ask them to introduce you. Preferably somebody that's already working at the company that you want to build your career. Ask them if they can help you. Explain to them why you still think you should be become a colleague of them, and help them pitch you with the hiring managers or the recruiters. And you'll be surprised how many times that actually work. And for further information, many companies have a referral program. So the person that introduces you also has an interest of making you successful in the role. So that that's a link that you really should investigate whether or not you have that. So now, if you have done all the work, you read everything, you know all about the companies and the sectors and the like, you probably get invited for a recruiting interview. And I think now it's time to get to the interactive part of this session, because the interview at each and every company is different. So there is not very many standard things that I can share with you in terms of do's and don'ts. So let's get to the questions that you may already have at this point, or otherwise that you might have about the interview. And with regards to the interview, many people are sort of nervous about the role of the recruiter and how difficult they are going to be for you. But actually the recruiter is on your side, because if the recruiter invites you for an interview, it's because you have the same interest. The recruiter is trying to fill a role and you have an ambition for that same role. So if you're doing this well, you have the recruiter on your side, guiding you through the interview process.
Super, Jacqueline. I already have quite a few questions if you want.
Yeah, go, shoot.
Okay, so there is one question that says, what if I firmly believe that I am qualified in terms of soft skills, but I do not have the tech experience? How can I gain tech experience when recruiters don't give me an opportunity to learn? What can I do differently?
Yeah, it sort of depends, of course, on the type of the tech skills that you want to acquire. So there's all sorts of free courses that you can follow, for example, on Coursera, where there's a lot of tech courses that you can do at your own time and at your own availability. And then, of course, there are the sites like Tech Talk and TED Talk, both on YouTube, where there's a lot of information. You can actually also just start on the whatis.com and see, okay, what is that, a database? How does that fit into the infrastructural settings of IT as such? And just start by a terminology. And of course, there's the GitHub and Stack Overflow, where developers share their information amongst each other, although that's actually at a deeper level, I suppose. But also use your introduction, because we hired a junior developer recently with no development experience apart from having some programming experience in his free time. And he is on the learning curve right now. So that's been introduced by a warm connection.
Yeah, and what I've also seen, Jacqueline, if I may add to that, is that sometimes if you take a course towards what you think you're going to like, companies are very willing to pay that course once they hire you. So you end up paying for it yourself, but then they hire you and they pay for the course, right?
Yes, also.
Okay. Then I have another question for you. So this is actually a question that I think would also be interesting for our other speaker, but I'm going to ask the question to you and she can remember it because she can hear it from the green room. How does it work when you have general details on your LinkedIn profile, when you have multiple job titles, for example, working as a lecturer and a project manager and an IT consultant, web developer? So how do you view that as a recruiter?
Actually, I would find that individual on each and every job title that I would search on. So I would find the profile searching on project manager. I would find the person on any of those job titles. So it would not. I would actually think it's more interesting because it gives me information in one glance of how they fill the role on a day-to-day basis.
Okay, thank you. I have another question that is more towards how do I deal with something. It's I come from a humanities background and I have finished a data science bootcamp a couple of months ago. Congratulations. And I am dealing with imposter syndrome. Any tips to get back on my feet? So what would you say to her?
Imposter syndrome, I would not understand what that means.
It is like you feel like you might be applying for something that you might not be good enough for yet. So actually these people have the skill, but they don't see or recognize that they have the skill.
That's
something many women have.
Yes. Yes, it's don't be too modest and don't be too shy. Just go for it. You can do it. You completed the course. You have the background. Just go and say you can do this because you can do this.
Okay, thanks. I hope, Bonnie, you will take that away because you finished it, of course. Then another person actually also has a question. She also went to a boot camp, but this one was a UX UI design boot camp, also very much tech. So that's super that you're here. And she says, do you have any tips standing out coming from a boot camp?
Yeah, if you apply for roles with regards to UX UI, make sure you create some form of a portfolio. So if you're just starting, of course, you will not have a professional portfolio. You might actually see if you can do some voluntary work for good cause or something and design things for them and build up a portfolio like that. But you can also just make a portfolio of general ideas that you really like, or show that you understand what UX or UI is all about, because it's one of the first things that recruiters look at for these types of roles. Okay.
There's a lot of questions, so I'm just going to pick a few randomly, so that we also take, don't take up too much time. I like this question a lot because I think secretly a lot of women are struggling with it, but we're not really talking about it. So I would like to open up the conversation about it. This is someone who says, do you have any advice for getting back to an engineering position after a long break? Is it a good idea to put caregiving or maternity leave in the resume and in your LinkedIn profile?
Yes, it is, because that's what you did, right? So there's nothing to be ashamed of. Just do that. Preferably if you have time becoming a mom and taking care of kids in the meantime, and you did do some reading or some courses or stuff, please list everything you've done which is relative to it, but it's normal. You're female, you're giving birth, get children, and recruiters understand that.
Okay, that's super nice. And in terms of maybe soft skill that you learned from it, would it be an idea to add those if you haven't done any courses or reading? Because sometimes, that just doesn't happen if you have a baby. Yeah,
yes, of course. You can even make it something humoristic, like running my own company called Family or something. Yes.
Super. That's a really nice tip. I actually like that. I'm going to steal it. Okay. Then we have another question here for you. And this one is it important to modify the CV for every job application, as it's very time consuming to do that? Do recruiters manually check CVs or some tools that screen keywords?
Well, I don't know about companies that would get thousands of CVs. I'm not aware of those. Then I could imagine that there are softwares that do that. I've never ever worked with that. I don't know anybody that is working with it. So yes, we actually check manually the CVs manually and run through it. And no, of course you don't have to modify your CV and motivation letter to every application. Like for example, like I said, if your standard CV is already matching all the requirements and stuff, you are pressed for time, you are in the train, you read this job advertisement on LinkedIn and you want to press the apply now button, yeah, there's not much need for elaboration on your match for the recruiter. So yeah, it's just becoming more important if you are in fierce competition and you want to stand out, or if you have some explaining to do why you don't meet all the requirements and still think you are the right candidate.
Right, okay, fair enough. Yep, I understand that. Then I have one last question for you, because I do believe you have another slide, if I'm not mistaken, that you want to show after this. It says, what would you advise someone who doesn't have an official technical or IT background to get a starter position in IT or tech? What do you need to show recruiters besides following extra courses?
Yeah, you could, like I said, you don't necessarily have to go immediately to a hardcore tech firm. So for example, if you've been working at a, I don't know, store selling clothes, and you understand a lot about retail, fashion and stuff like that, then go look for example, e-commerce companies that have roles that fit a business analyst, for example. And then you can grow from a role which is not too far off your current background, and slowly but surely migrate into the more technical roles at IT companies even. So you have to take baby steps. And take your knowledge and expertise with you, keep the value of it, and then start adding IT type of roles to it.
Okay, right. So what I hear you say is just look at what you're good at. You don't have to be super technical from the get-go. You can just roll into roles in that company that they also need besides the typical development. Yeah.
So for example, I'm just giving you an example of business analyst, but you can also think of account managers, trainers. There's lots of different roles which can be your gateway to the IT.
I like that, a gateway. Find yourself a gateway. Okay, I'm going to give you the room and space to move into your next slide. If anybody in the audience still has questions, we do have a little bit of time after that slide for the questions, so pop them into the chat, please.
Okay, well, my one slide is not very impressive. It just shows 2 or 3 women having an interview. So I just wanted to share some knowledge still on the interview process. Like I said, the recruiter is not your enemy. You share the same goals. Make sure you have an answer to a couple of standard questions, which is what are your ambitions? What are your goals? What are your strengths and weaknesses is still a very common question. Now, you've already done it in your preparation, so you can just pop them out and be prepared for the STAR techniques. So STAR technique is a very commonly used technique in the interview in question, and it means situation, task, action, results, and reflection. So let's say a situation that you say, well, I've been running this project from A to Z. That would be your situation. And then the recruiter would ask you, so, okay, what does it mean running? What was your task? And then you would say your action was, I don't know, managing the U-track board, for example. And then you say the result was that the project was delivered in time, I don't know, and then the recruiter says, okay, and how do you reflect back on that? So that's the STAR technique and an example. Be prepared for that because it's very common in IT. And also prepare 2 questions to the recruiter that does the interview, but that goes for basically any type of company. That's always a good idea. So that was the things that I still wanted to mention to you guys.
Thanks a lot, Jacqueline.
You're welcome.
I see a question from Women in Tech from ourselves popping up from behind the screens. It is, what is your view about using the green open to work button on your LinkedIn profile picture? Is this good to do if you are job searching, or does it make you look desperate? I would like to know the opinion of everybody in the audience, of course, but also very much would like to know your opinion on this, Jacqueline.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I totally forgot to mention that, but that's a really important thing to do. Yes, when you're open to job opportunities, because like I said, recruiters are linking for certain terminologies or even Boolean strings on the internet for that matter. Yeah, showing that you are open for job opportunities doesn't show you're desperate. It shows you're open to engaging with recruiters. So that's always a very good idea.
Okay. And do you have other tips on how you can use LinkedIn to really start engaging with recruiters? Because I can imagine sometimes you don't know where to begin.
So you mean to use LinkedIn to be found by recruiters or to find recruiters?
Yeah.
To be found.
Both. To be found. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So for example, you can use your network in that matter. So if somebody sees a job post or you see a job post that you like, you can ask the people in your network to tag your name under that job post. So then the recruiter will spot your name under the job post, and it's very likely that they would click on your name to see, okay, so who are you? Why would you be interesting for this role? So that's a way they can connect you indirectly to recruiter. You can also indeed look for recruiters that are working for the types of companies that you want to work for, or in the business field that you try to enter. For example, there's people like myself, I used to be specialized in business intelligence for a long time. And if you are a person that wants to land a job in business intelligence, then it would be a good idea to at least connect with the recruiter and see if they can help you land a job at a certain company. There's also LinkedIn groups which you can join. Most of them are open, and that in those groups you can also meet different people that are active in that field. And in those groups, they also share information amongst each other about market development. They organize get-togethers. Nowadays with Corona, of course, that's a little bit more difficult, but they do that online. And they also share different viewpoints on the field they are working in, and the developments that are going on in that specific arena.
Okay, super, thanks. I think we can do one last question and then we'll move on to our next speaker. So I have a question from Carla. She says, I have a technical background, 5 years working experience in e-commerce. I have applied to IT and development positions, but barely got any invitation. How to make a shift in my career towards dev?
Towards the development in the so try to get the inspiration from the two examples that I gave. So try to figure out how you can stand out of the crowd, and also in your motivation letter show that you have learned from the field you are trying to enter, and articulate why it would be a good idea to consider you as a candidate. That is going to be helpful.
Thanks. What I usually do see, Jacqueline, and maybe you can give us one last tip or takeaway on that, is that women feel like they need to master something to say they can do the job or they can actually fulfill the task. What would you recommend in terms of that?
Get rid of it as soon as you can. No, because you know that it's a typical female problem, and yeah, you don't have to master everything. You can learn and grow. You can together with recruiter, you can assess which level you actually have. So try to get on the table, and also use your network if you're really doubtful, to see to get a feel for, okay, so how do I stand out compared to another person that you are working with? What level do I have at the moment, or where do I need to add knowledge, or is this good enough? So if you cannot get rid of it yourself, talk to other women that fill the roles or that have the same ambitions.
Oh, that's actually a brilliant tip, and that's also why I myself joined Women in Tech in the first place.
There you go.
Yeah, so find yourself a female role model and just talk to the women around you, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks so much. I do see another few questions coming in, but please also continue asking them because we have another great speaker for you coming up. Jacqueline, thank you so much for this great presentation, and I really love that you could answer these questions so swiftly and with so many good tips. Thank you a lot. And then right now I will move to our next speaker. Our next speaker is Aurélie. Hi, Aurélie. Welcome. I'm really happy that you're here.
Hello, good evening. Very happy to be here as well.
So, Aurélie, I'm going to do the same to you that I did to Jacqueline. I'll give you a little bit of an introduction of how I see you. To me, you are a true tech geek. And you are able to take people on a very inspiring journey of how you got into tech and how you made your career dreams come true. You are very well known for your digital nomad, mission nomad lifestyle, and for driving change in the business travel ecosystem and in the workplace. And you have a true passion for technology and how companies can blend the physical and digital together to drive the right result. I would say you are very proud to be a millennial, which I'm sure we will hear more about. Very happy that you're here and very proud that we can put you on stage. And I will be interviewing you today. So for everyone in the audience, I will be interviewing Aurélie. So we're not going to show you slides. We're just going to have a conversation. So please tap into that conversation. Ask any questions that you might have. Aurélie is very open to any questions. Please do get involved in the conversation with us. I'll be reading your questions on my screen. So if you see me looking around, it's because I'm trying to get the best questions and give them to Aurélie. For now, Aurélie, let me please start with the first question. Mm-hmm. Can you shortly tell me about what you do on a daily basis?
Oof. How much time do we have?
Well, we have some time.
Okay, cool. So, just to complement what Jacqueline has brilliantly introduced and some questions that I've seen coming through the feed. Well, I actually don't have a daily routine. And this links to my millennial profile you just said. I think I would describe myself as a typical slash generation because it looks as if I have multiple careers in one single career. But if I have to put, labels on what I do, I would say I have two major activities. The first one is I produce content. It can be written content. It can be events as well. And the second activity is pure consulting. So it's going to be consulting strategy, product strategy, but also consulting in more tactical projects. My playground is definitely innovation, technology, and mostly travel tech. So I usually travel a lot when there's no COVID around, 60-70% of my time. I just spend it outside of my home country, that is France. I travel for all those events, but also because I just love it and I decided to work remotely. And I think we'll get there because I think the tech sector has an amazing opportunity here as well for remote work and all the opportunities that will open up when we reach the end of this crazy year, if I can put it this way. Yeah. But yeah, so in travel technology, you can actually land in very, very different jobs. And I think that's the beauty of tech. Again, Jacqueline highlighted this at the very beginning. Tech is not a discipline by itself. Tech is an enabler and tech is everywhere. So I do, like, I work with online booking tools. I work with expense management tools. I'm doing UXD. I'm doing return on experience projects. I even do influencing campaigns, testing out products, and doing vlogs. So this is actually super fun. Engaging with the community. As I said, I'm doing product strategy. It can be engagement work. I run client advisory boards for IT providers who actually want to get voice of customers. I'm acting like the white flag in the middle, independent thinking, facilitating discussions. I run events. I moderate, just like you do right now, Gabby. I deliver speeches. I run transformation projects. I run hackathons. So it's super, super varied. So there's no routine.
Wow. That's amazing. You must be able to also answer that question on the many job titles.
I have no idea how to fill that in the LinkedIn line. So you see my LinkedIn profile is pretty generic, but I try to jazz it up a little bit to drive some curiosity. Yeah. I don't like to. Yeah, go ahead.
You are definitely next gen when it comes to your profile on LinkedIn and the way you work, right?
Yes, again, we'll get there, but I think it's very important as well to be yourself. And if people find some interest, or if you spark some conversation, they will dig in and reach out to you anyway. That's my view, at least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I have another question for you. Actually, that also ties into a question I just got from the audience of someone who wants to know, who says, what you're doing is really interesting. How did you find this opportunity? And I also wanted to ask you, so I'll combine the questions. How did you get into tech?
Well, long story short, I was always super interested in travel. I love travel. I love international environments, and I love tech. And in my early 20s, I was in a very interesting training to actually become a travel agent. And I started using the booking systems. And to put things in context, so I might be a millennial, but I'm not so young anymore. So at the very early stage of my career, it was the beginning of social media. Well, Instagram didn't exist yet, but Facebook was beginning to becoming big. It was so I had the very first iPhone, 2007. So I have experienced those massive transformations. And when I began, so my internships in travel agencies, it was also the beginning of offline to online. And very quickly, I became super interested in what powers that. What if I look behind the curtain? What are the pipes? And this is how I got super curious in tech. I had zero training in tech, so it's really something I learned on the fly with my different experiences. And this is how I decided to take on an MBA, specialized in travel management. And we had several opportunities, and I decided to actually focus and specialize on travel tech. And again, it was super interesting because it was the beginning of the online bubble, and the iPhone was beginning. So it was the mobile, omni-channel. And it's super interesting because some conversation that popped already some 10, 12 years ago are still top in the topics right now. And I would say, I got those opportunities. I started in the corporate world. I started to work for big travel agencies, international travel agencies. It was Carlson Wagonlit Travel back then. Then it was Amex. And very quickly, actually, I realized that I really liked working for myself as well. I started a blog. It was in French back then. Because I thought, well, I'm next gen, I'm 24, but actually it's a huge asset because we're millennials and we are like the symbol of all those massive transformations because we are actually experiencing them. Where I would say it's the crossroads of all the transformations. And I decided to start this because back then, at least on the French market, there was no proper news around or thought leadership or in-depth content. It was really around, oh, that company has released this, or this company purchased that company, but there was no proper analysis on the impact. So what does social media mean for travel? And we know right now how big social media is when it comes to influencing, not even travel, all sectors, even customer service, everything now is social and collaborative. And this is how I started to build some kind of community, thanks to thought leadership. And this led me to have some opportunities as a freelance as well.
Okay,
so
well, that's super.
The question.
It does, yeah, and it actually ties right into a question that we get from the audience. Again, I would like to combine by making it a bit broader. So I wanted to ask you about your challenges along the way, and this individual is asking. Being a freelancer and digital nomad is amazing. How do you make sure you have enough work and projects all the time?
Oh, well, yeah, that I would say that's the number one top challenge when you embrace such life, right?
I thought so.
So I think there are two questions in one. Challenge, if we rewind a little bit. So especially when I started my career, it wasn't that easy because, and this is something I hear a lot, and it's changing, and that makes me very happy. Like, look at us right now. English is not our native language, neither of us.
Nope.
So when you start a career, and sometimes when English is not your native language, it's something that might sounds a little bit scary. But I would say just try to go over it, because it's not a big deal if it's not perfect. It's not a big deal if you have an accent. That's the beauty of it. It's diversity. But I also face some other challenges. It's more related to mindset, because back then, so you are a girl, you're in tech, you don't have a lot of experiences, but you have pretty strong opinions, super passionate about tech and all the opportunities. And not to sound a bit provocative, but a little bit though, because I kind of like it. You're surrounded by some sort of man's club or gray hair. And if you don't have gray hair, people don't take you seriously because you don't have experience. So I faced that at the beginning. And I started to be a little bit upset. But, I just said, you know what, just pause a little bit. This is an incredible asset because you're disruptive. And if people actually, if that makes them react, it means that somehow this is impactful. And this, I just thought, you know what, challenge accepted. I'm going to do this, challenge accepted. And I kept going. And at the end of the day, even when you're like a so-called thought leader, you also realize that you cannot please everybody. Because your ideas, and it's okay not to agree. It's perfect to disagree, right? And I realized that. And I also realized that this helped me gain a lot of confidence. And even, when I do those vlogs, I get many DMs from women and young women, or even women in general, telling me, you know what, I'm sometimes a bit afraid to speak up and to put myself out there because I'm afraid it's not good enough. Mm. And this actually makes me realize that, no, it's fine. I can do it. So those challenges, like mindset, are starting to evolve. I think now we also have a lot of mentorship programs. This is also why I got involved in some programs. I'm a volunteer. I'm running Focusrite Young Leaders Summits. You were a speaker there last year, Gabby, on empowerment. And it's for young leaders under 35 in the travel industry. I'm helping students. So I'm doing what I can as well to try to, instill confidence and make sure that challenges that I have faced maybe are a bit easier, to overcome for younger generations.
Oh, yeah, that's really kind of you. And I also think super important that you do that kind of work next to, of course, being a freelancer. Do you think having the exposure that way also helps you get all those projects in?
Well, I think it's a virtuous circle, if you will. So to lead back now to all the other challenges, it is a huge challenge to make sure that you have work as a freelancer and that you can put food in the fridge. But it's also a life choice. So you you also need to accept that some months could be good and some months could be a little bit more challenging. But passion drives a lot of things, and personally, what really helps is that I really value my freedom. But with everything that's going on right now, we talked about that earlier. A lot of companies are announcing that now you can even work from anywhere as an employee. So this is going to open tons of opportunities for everybody, and not necessarily as a freelancer, but as an employee. So this challenge might become a bit less of a challenge.
Right. Yep. Okay. That's interesting. So you actually, I'm really interested because you mentioned thought leadership earlier, and that's of course about the way that you approach a problem, a situation, or a project or a group of people, and that brings me to leadership. So how important actually are leaders to help you grow? So can you tell a little bit more about that?
So this is actually essential in your career. You will have several milestones, and you will meet some people at some time that are key for your growth. I've mentioned that. So I've met those people. It was super challenging. So I've been told already, shh, you should just sit down and listen because you have everything to learn. Well, I agree. First of all, I never said I knew everything. Second of all, nobody knows everything at any stage of their career, or if you do, congrats. But I would really challenge this. And so these people will actually boost yourself to the, challenge accepted. And on the other hand, you also have people who trust you. So I will always be grateful to, those people who hired me in the first place while you don't have that experience, because we talked about the imposter syndrome. We talked about, yes, but this job description requires some 10 years of experience. Experience is nice, but it's also your personality, the way you promote yourself, the way you put yourself out there, that will influence some decisions as well to hire you. And leaders inspire you. So you gain knowledge thanks to them. They also introduce you to people. So leadership also leads to networking. Networking is an essential pillar to grow, to develop your career, to find another job, or to share knowledge across industries. Mm-hmm. And basically, leaders are a shortcut because you benefit from their experience. And I really believe that what works best is when we mentioned next gen, young gen, millennials, but this is not the only thing that matters. The thing that matters is cross generations. Work all together with leaders, industry leaders who have that experience, who make you benefit from it. I would say people a little bit intermediate like us, because we have some 10-ish years of experience, and newly graduates, young next gen, because they have some fresh thinking that maybe we don't have anymore, because we already have that bit of experience.
Yeah.
And I really believe that leadership is not necessarily a question of age or of experience. Leadership is also a mindset. It is how thought-provoking you are, and how you can actually analyze things and share your opinions and engage around you, and spark conversation.
Yep. Yeah, I would agree with you. Yeah, off the bat, right away. So you just mentioned a pillar. Yep. So could you let the audience know what your pillars are for raising your profile, so for standing out, because you've been mentioning that a few times as well. So yes. What can they do? What are those pillars?
So I've prepared a very quick slide. So if you in the audience want to, screenshot or whatever, it just makes it a bit more visual. If you want to, perfect. If you want to pull this. So to me, you basically have 5 key pillars to grow in your career. The first one, and it's a bit of an obvious one, but it's knowledge, because knowledge is the basis of everything. And to me, you need to be in a constant learning curve. You need to remain curious. This is super important. This is what working on your hard skills is what will enable you to land any job. Challenge yourself as well. We talked about the imposter syndrome, but sometimes I even take on projects I learn on the way, and I'm super transparent with my clients. I'm telling them, okay, so I have that travel expertise or whatever, but I will also ask millions of questions, maybe silly questions at some point, but don't be afraid to ask questions when things are not clear, because it's also okay not to know everything. And also there are amazing mentoring programs. It can be leaders, or it can be, like what you are doing, what you ladies are doing with Women in Tech. Second is passion, because this will sound so cliche, but this is really so what I think is when you love what you do, it doesn't even become a job anymore, because you have fun. Well, all days are not super fun. It's not always puppies and rainbows, especially during COVID. Let's just be very honest. But this will drive so many things and dare, because passion will empower yourself. Passion will make you dare to do things. Be committed. Just go full steam. Do it. Just do it. So I'm not sponsored by Nike, but really go for it. Listen around you. Observe, because when you understand your environment, this will also make fine tune your own sentiment. Have an entrepreneur mindset. Always think beyond, and think about what you could do to improve things within your own company or for your own role. Obviously, personal development. We talked about hard skills, but it's also about soft skills. Be open-minded, but most of all, really be yourself. I've seen many questions around CVs and cover letters, and to me, it's very important to really own it and be yourself. And I've mentioned it several times. Network, because it's super important. So we did mention LinkedIn. To me, personal branding is essential, because today you might work for company A, B, or C. Maybe tomorrow you'll work for company D, but you have that skill set, you have your passion, and just put yourself out there. Work on your LinkedIn profile, share. You don't need to create content all the time if you do not feel comfortable doing it, but comment some articles that you see that your network shares. Maybe share some articles that you have read and add your 2 cents, add your take on that. Use social media, really. So even Instagram, there's a huge community, even like there's a STEM community, there's a Latinas in Tech community. So there are many communities out there on Instagram. LinkedIn, of course, is the go-to platform. Engage. Join communities. We talked about that. There are LinkedIn groups. There are many different groups that you can join to build that network. Yep. And voice your opinion. Don't be afraid to voice your opinion, to tell what you think. So these are my I would say my 5 tricks of the trade.
I love them. Thank you so much. If anybody has any questions on those, please type them in the chat, of course. And then, Aurélie, we have some questions from the audience. Before I go to those questions, I have one last question to you that I would really like to know about. So we talked about it briefly. You have a nomad lifestyle. You work from anywhere, and you have also recently launched #Mission Nomad, I should say. Can you tell us how you see the future of work? So how do you think the future of work will be? And I think it might be nice to stop showing the slides and bring in Jacqueline, because I'm also interested in hearing her perspective on this. And then I can ask you guys some of the questions from the audience, and then we can go over time a little bit. Sorry for all of the people who really thought it would end at 2015, but I also think it might be nice to jointly answer some of the audience questions. So future of work, what is your take on it, Aurélie?
So to me, we already had a lot of trends before COVID hit. And I think this pandemic has revealed something amazing, is that we need more flexibility at work. No matter what our situation is, no matter what our age is, no matter what the industry we're working in. So historically, I would say that the tech industry it has always been easier a little bit to work remotely because now we all work with the cloud. 5G is coming, so we have all that tech that's going to enable more that lifestyle. But above all, to me, work is not a place. So when we're talking about workplace, we really need to redesign redesign the way we work and think about a more fulfilling work life. Make sure that everybody finds the right balance. So, well, my thing is travel. So to me, it's work from anywhere. It's not necessarily work from, if you can work from home, why couldn't you work from anywhere? But maybe some people might rather stick to a place, but go in more of a hybrid work model, head to the office once or twice a week, but then have that flexibility to actually really work remotely. To me, distributed teams and remote work is the standard. And actually, yes, you can get work done without sitting in a chair in an office from Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. And yes, when I'm on my trips, there are palm trees behind me, but I am working. I think we need to break some cliches and some old thinkings and some cultural blockers. France has those blockers because sometimes some managers think like, I don't see you, so I don't know what you're doing. So it can become stalking even remotely, and I think we need to open up conversations around that. Trust is essential.
Yeah. Okay, I'm really interested in hearing Jacqueline's opinion on this.
Yeah, I agree with the hybrid version because people will also have the brainstorming type of environment and the sense of belonging to a certain group with a certain identity. So that will always still remain important, I believe. However, working from home is comfortable for many of us, not all of us, because some of us have little babies, for example, and then it's really hard to concentrate on work when there's a baby crying and stuff. So in some cases, it's not the ideal situation. But yes, I agree that it will evolve into a more of a hybrid type of construction towards working at office or from home.
But I also believe that the current situation we're in, this is not work from home. This is just work from home induced by a pandemic. So we don't even have the flexibility you would normally have when you work from home, because even childcare, homeschooling, I mean, this is a very unique, not to mention another U word that we hear all over the place, but this is a very unique situation. But ultimately, I think it really opened up conversations on how we need to design our work life.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, and with all sorts of regulations that we need to take into account, and and still, how do we keep the us feeling? And so there's very many things that we still need to work on. But I do believe that it's going to happen in time.
So that's something the people trying to find a job, landing a job, finding new career opportunities might also take into account. For example, like Victoria, because she asked, do you think getting a remote job as a junior designer researcher is likely? I'd love to work from home, but I don't know if it's feasible being new in the field.
It's going to be more challenging, I suppose, in that type of a role, because it's very interactive. So you want to constantly be in brainstorm sessions, and there is software available already, like, for example, canvas boards that are digital. So they do allow you to get into that creative fuss, basically. But I think it's going to be a little bit more complicated for you to enter in that role. From a new perspective, no real experience there, and then also no actual work to demonstrate and to show how you work in that. So I think it's possible, but a bit more complicated.
Okay, then I have one last question that I want to ask to Aurélie. Mm-hmm. Do you think it would still be possible to build a career like that, taking into account that travel blogs and such are not a bubble anymore? How to get into it now?
Not sure if the question is really around pure travel. So Sarah, if you I'll start answering. If you want to clarify, feel free to add it in the comment, and we'll see it. But to me actually, yes, because even if you're like a thought leader and you rely on a community to earn a living, what really matters is the engagement with your community, to build a community that relates to what you're doing, that follows you, that engages with you. And so if we're talking here about the pure influencers and travel bloggers, there are a lot of them. But again, every personality is different. So to me, there is room for everyone out there, as long as you manage to really clearly find, you know, what will make you, what will resonate with your community, and as long as you bring value to your community.
Right. Okay. She also answered just now saying, yes, it's a travel blog.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the question is bring value and find your own differentiator. And I think people, if that echoes with them, they will definitely follow you.
Thank you so much. Then one last question that we will do before we end the session, which I want both of you to answer, if possible, is from Dominique, if I say it right. What topics or hard skills are important to have knowledge on currently and in the future?
Well, then I suppose you would talk about trends in IT. Okay, so then you could think of Internet of Things, AI, so artificial intelligence. Internet of Things would be combining hardware, like for example a watch, with well, if I talk about mental health care, and you're talking about the stress program, to include the heartbeat rate with the program and measure that. And so that's one of the things that's also going towards inclusion of people. So like I said, the warm feeling, the us feeling, how do you keep that, and how do you create the community around that? Yeah, there's actually so many things, but those three pop in mind immediately.
Well, to me, in terms of like tech, I would clearly try to look at blockchain and fintech, because to me these are two areas that are going to transform a lot of things. And in general, it's really about the transformation, the rewiring of all the architecture that we've been thinking about. And having those hard skills are going to be the ground basis of how you can think and how you can be creative and try to disrupt a little bit the current way we're doing things.
Okay, thank you, ladies, so much. I love your answers. I also think we should not forget about soft skill, personal opinion. Yeah. I think that's super important to stand out, but also to be able to bring thought leadership to the table. Now then, I would like to end the session. So Kara, you're in the background doing everything for us. If you would also like to join us on the screen, please. I would be very happy to be able to thank you for all of your hard work. You are actually our president of Women in Tech Netherlands. And I really love that you have been here with us in the background, taking care of StreamYard, taking care of the session so that we can run a good session. I think that shows how involved we are as a group, that you as a president are doing that. So thank you for that. Thanks to everybody in the audience. I would say if you really have specific questions, we have left a lot of them unanswered, and I'm really sorry for that. I do love the engagement a lot. Please reach out to us or maybe to Jacqueline or Aurélie if you feel comfortable enough doing that. They are nodding, so they are super open to that. I'm also super happy to connect with you. Don't forget to look at Women in Tech Global, because I see we have a very global audience. You can join Women in Tech by going to our website. Thank you so much, Jacqueline. I really loved all of your tips, and I think you were able to help a lot of people tonight. Keep up the good work, and thank you for being such an inspiration in the recruitment world. And Aurélie, thank you so much for joining as well and being such an inspiration to next gen, but also generations who are still very, very keen on, staying very modern, like Kara herself. So that's super important as well. Thank you both for joining, and thanks everybody in the audience. That's it for us tonight.
Thank you for watching all. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining.
Bye.
Bye-bye.